Hey guys, welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Krista and I just finished cooking up a whole bunch of Christmas cookies with you guys. And so now I am starving and I have been in the kitchen all day, so I'm wanting to make a super quick meal. And I thought, since I had some ground chicken already defrosted in my fridge, I would show you guys how I make my chicken lettuce wraps. They are inspired from a franchise Chinese restaurant. I cannot remember the name. I want to say it's P.F. Chang's, but I could be very wrong. But they are inspired from that. I've had them one time at the restaurant and absolutely fell in love with them. And years and years ago, and I thought I need to find a copycat for this recipe because it is delicious. Now I have the copycat version, but as I was going through them, the list, because it was kind of a last minute decision to make this for supper, I realized I don't have a lot of stuff that the actual recipe calls for. So I am just gonna kind of wing it and just make it up as I go along. I'm not gonna really make it up. I'm gonna follow the recipe, but I'm gonna loosely follow it because again, I'm missing the mushrooms, I'm missing teriyaki sauce. So I'm just gonna kind of go with it. And I'm adding some stuff that aren't in it also. So what I'm gonna do first of all is I am going to get a pound of ground chicken. This is just chicken that I have just grounded up from our meat birds. What I do is I take, when we process our meat birds, we don't like, or Steven, I love whole chicken roasted, but Steven does not like roasted chicken. So I part all of our chickens out. So I take the breasts, I take the legs, I take the wings, and I just part everything out. So what I do is I have all of the carcasses left. So I have the backbone, and yes, I definitely make stock with those, but what I do before I make stock is I take those bones, and there is a whole bunch of beautiful white meat all over those carcasses. So I take that white meat, usually with a spoon, and I scrape it off, and then what I do is I just grind it, and I use that as ground chicken. Sometimes if I have it, I will mix a little bit of pork fat in with it, because chicken can be fairly dry, so you kind of need a little bit of fat. But these birds were actually pretty fat, the last batch that we did. So this chicken does have quite a bit of fat already in it, so I don't need to add any more. I'm just gonna turn this on. There, but all those little specks in there, those yellow specks, that's just fat. So I am actually, because there's not a huge bit of fat in it, I am going to throw a little bit of oil in here. Actually, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this off the heat for 2 seconds. I wanna cut an onion up. This is where I'm veering away from the recipe. It does not call for any onions in it. So I want to have some onion in it because Steve is not here this weekend. So I am cooking with onion. I'm just gonna finely chop this up. I'm using a pretty small onion too because I don't want it to be too overpowering in here. Okay, we're gonna put this back on the heat now, and I am actually gonna add a little bit of sesame oil to this. Just a little bit. Add the onion into here, and we're just gonna saute it a little bit, and then once it's pretty good and sauteed, we're gonna add garlic for about, and we'll saute the garlic for about a minute, and then we're gonna take it out, and then put the chicken in. Saute these first. Now, the recipe calls to actually saute mushrooms at this point, then add your garlic, but we don't have mushrooms, which is a tragedy. And you know what would also help? To have the burner on. That really helps cook things. I've been in the kitchen all day. This morning was dealing with eggs. We were overrun with eggs this morning, so I had to get them processed, and I just hard-boiled a whole bunch and gave them to the chickens, and then I had to get some sorted out. But yeah, I was dealing with that for about 3 hours, and then I went making sourdough, and then we were doing the cookies together, and yeah, it's just a long day. So that is definitely why I'm cooking onions without the burner being on. And I'm super hungry, and it is 7:30. I love the smell of sesame oil. It smells so good. I guess what we can do while we're waiting for that to kind of heat up and saute is we can get our sauce ready. So it says to a mason jar or a small bowl, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of Hawaiian sauce. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. This is what I'm using. This is like the key ingredient to this. A very, very strong flavor in this dish. We do not have teriyaki sauce, so what I am going to do is I am going to substitute in for a little bit of oyster sauce, and then probably end up adding just a tad bit more soy sauce than what the recipe calls for, because we do not have teriyaki, and I do not have the patience. I have a recipe to make it, but like I said, I've been in the kitchen all day, and that is not happening. So I would say let's put maybe, because it is a different flavor profile, let's put maybe just a tablespoon of this in here, and then we'll just do a little bit extra soy sauce, because it calls for 2 tablespoons of teriyaki sauce. Oh, we're just gonna saute these a bit here. I don't want them to burn. And then we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, but let's do a tablespoon and a half, just because again, we don't have that teriyaki. We're gonna also add 1 teaspoon of rice wine vinegar, or not rice wine, just rice vinegar. Just this stuff is what I'm using. Turn down the heat a bit because I don't want that to burn. And then we are going to add 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. We're gonna add 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, but I am using arrowroot powder. And I'm actually gonna add just a touch bit more because we used that extra soy sauce. It might be a little bit more runny than normal. And I'm gonna keep it out in case we need it. And then we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of sriracha, which I was lucky enough to have because I actually have heard and seen, I went to look for it, and they definitely do not have any in stores right now. I want to learn how to make my own sriracha because we do like it. Okay, so that's everything that we need in here, and we're just gonna give this a whisk. Now, we don't add salt, we don't add pepper because we have that soy sauce in there. It is a salty flavor. Oh, and I've burnt my onions. You guys can tell I don't cook with onions very often. Look what just happened, I just burnt them. But I think they should be fine. So we're gonna add a little bit of ginger to this. I'm saying like maybe 1.5 teaspoons. We're just gonna quickly stir that. I turned the heat off because this is really hot already, and I don't want anything, like I don't want the onions to cook anymore, but I just want to get that garlic nice and fragrant. And then we're gonna take this off. We're gonna take the onions and garlic out of here. Okay, so we're just gonna take these and just put them in this bowl here. Just set them aside. Okay, so now we're gonna add a little bit more sesame oil to this. And the pot is already hot, so then we're gonna add our ground chicken. I've seen, I had at one restaurant, I had peanuts in it also, and it was super, super good. This is almost cooked through, and because it is chicken, we really need to make sure that it is extremely cooked through. Well, not extremely, but just make sure it's not pink. What I am going to do is add the onions and the garlic back to this because it is almost cooked through. Like there's just a couple little tiny spots that are still pink. So we'll just add this to the finishing process. Another thing that would be pretty tasty in this, and I didn't I wish I would have thought about it this morning because I would have took it out to thaw, would be to put some shredded zucchini in this. It would be a really good filler. But I forgot to take it out of the freezer. Again, this is kind of like a last minute meal that I'm making. So I have a bag of lettuce. This is just lettuce that we picked from the garden a while ago. It does call at this point to add some, it is done pretty much. It does call to add some fresh basil to it. It says 6 basil leaves finely chopped. Obviously we're in winter, I don't have basil. So I guess I could if I get a live basil plant inside, which would be really nice for the window. But I'm just gonna take a couple of dried basil leaves and just kind of do this over top. Smells so fresh. I know like you can get those live basil plants at Trader Joe's, and I like to do that in the winter, but I just have not been to Nashville in a while. I think we're gonna actually end up going next week into Nashville. We do have to do a Costco run, so there will be a Costco haul coming up shortly. Okay, so that is good. What we are gonna do now, we're gonna pour this over top of the chicken. It in. And we're just gonna heat it up until it's completely heated through. We don't have to, it says also to thicken, but because we didn't use that teriyaki sauce, and I'm gonna turn it down, because we didn't use that teriyaki sauce, it is already pretty thick, so we don't have to thicken it up, we just have to heat it up. This would be good garnished with, like I said, some peanuts on it, and some green onion. So we have that turned on low. Let's get our lettuce ready. Okay, we are actually going to take it off the heat because it is already all cooked through. I have already pre-washed this lettuce. So the whole point of doing it is you just kind of want to put it into the wrap like this. And this is how you eat it, just like that. So what I usually do when I usually make this for myself because Steven isn't a fan of it. I usually just pour this into a bowl and then just put a whole bunch of lettuce on my plate and then just serve it up like this. So let's try this. I've not made it, it's very hot also. I've never made this without teriyaki, so I don't know how it's gonna taste. Oh. Super delicious. That oyster sauce was a good call. Like I said, the Hawaiian sauce is like the major component, the major flavor of this. It's so good. Yum. Okay, so I'm just gonna plate it up for myself and then I am going to go and sit down and just enjoy some quiet. Kind of go for the lettuces that I can scoop like that. The bigger pieces work best. The other thing that this recipe does suggest is to use a butterhead type lettuce so that it's a better lettuce to use. I've used romaine too and that works perfectly fine. I'm gonna have one of these. These are my favorite drinks. This isn't my favorite flavor, but it's what we had. All right, well, I am gonna go now and sit down and enjoy that food because I am starving after being in the kitchen all day. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I really hope you give it a try because it is, like you've seen it, it comes together in literally minutes, and it is super delicious, and it is not a bad meal. It's pretty healthy. Hope you give it a try. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I hope you guys have a good day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys.